Hello world, we have a new book, well, one that I haven't read yet, by Amy Tann, The Opposite of Fate, a book of musings. So here we are in one of our favorite spots, and we're going to do some reading. So here we go. Either somebody was like where I'm sitting or is already close to where I'm sitting that has amazing smelling cologne. It's dangerous. I love cologne. Okay, so this is a note to the reader. I'm just going to go ahead and skip that. Fate and faith. This is where we're going to begin. Yeah, you don't need to look at me, right, I guess. Give you a nice, beautiful view while you're listening to what's going on. Oh, that's perfect. You get the sun and the water. Ooh, I like that. I can look at the sun later. Yeah, because that looks like a big ball of gas, right? Totally doesn't look like a great big chip in a dome in the sky. Something along those lines. Makes a little bit more sense. All right. My mother believed in God's will for many years. It was as if she had turned on a celestial faucet and goodness kept pouring out. She said it was faith that kept all these good things coming our way, only I thought she said fate, as in F-A-T-E, instead of faith, because she couldn't pronounce that sound in faith. And later, I discovered that maybe it was fate all along, that faith was just an illusion, that somehow you're in control. I found out the most I could have was hope. And with that, I was not denying any possibility, good or bad. I was just saying that if there was a choice, dear God, or whatever you are, here's the odds. Here's where the odds should be placed. That was written by somebody or something called the Joy Luck Club. I don't have a clue what that is. The next one, this is like another chapter, it's just the next page. This one's titled The Cliff Notes Version of My Life. Soon after my first book was published, I found myself often confronted with the subject of my mortality. I remember being asked by a young woman what I did for a living. I'm an author, I said, with proud new authority. A contemporary author, she wanted to know. And being newly published at the time, I had to think for a moment because before I realized that if I were not contemporary, I would be alternative, which is, of course, dead. Oh, the alternative, which is, of course, dead. Since then, I have preferred to call myself a writer. A writer writes. She writes in the present progressive tense, whereas an author, unless she is clearly said to be contemporary, is in the past tense, someone who once wrote, someone who no longer has to sharpen her pencil, so to speak. Sorry, just bear with me here. To me, the word author is as chilling as rigor mortis, and I shudder when I hear myself introduced as such when I lecture at universities. This is probably due to the fact that when I was an English major at a university, all the authors I read were, sad to say, not contemporary. What compels ardent readers of my work to ask me questions concerning my time-limited authorhood? In lecture halls and on live radio shows, I have been stunned by questions as deadly as these. What would you like written on your tombstone? Which book would you like people to remember you by? Does it make you feel honored that your books probably will be in circulation at the library long after you're gone? I don't find those questions nearly as appalling as this one. Are you loaded? Which is what a 9-year-old girl in Nashville once asked me at a book signing. I wondered whether the child might have just come from a school program on crime prevention or substance abuse and was now worried that all adults carried loaded weapons or were loaded on drugs. I said to her gently, "What kind of loaded are you worried about?" "You know," the girl snapped, "loaded like filthy rich." I glanced over to her mother, expecting that she would reprimand her daughter, and the mother looked right at me and said, "Well, are you?" I've grown accustomed to public scrutiny, yet nothing prepared me for what I considered the ultimate reminder of an author's mortality. It happened when I was at yet another bookstore about to give yet another reading. I was waiting in the wings as the store manager delivered a long introduction on my credentials as an author. Glancing to my side, I saw a wire book rack crammed with cheap and familiar booklets. They were Cliff Notes, self-proclaimed as your key to the classics. As we all know, Cliff Notes have served as the midnight salvation of many a literature student, and if the truth be known, this former English major used them to write incisive papers on, dare I say it, Ulysses, Lord Jim, and Hamlet. Huh. Imagine, there I was, in a bookstore, recalling these past sins, about to read from my own published work. I gave a silent apology to my fellow authors, Jim Joyce, Joe Conrad, and Bill Shakespeare, may they rest in peace. And then my eyes landed on another familiar title, The Joy Luck Club. I stared at those cliff notes, thinking to myself, but I'm not dead yet. I flipped through the pages and found an obituary-like biography of the author, me, Amy Tann. I was shocked to learn that once I had carried on a relationship with an older gentleman who had close contacts with drug dealers and organized crime. Could this possibly be describing my Franz? True, he was older than I was, 22 years to my 16 when we met, and yes, he was friends with a couple of Canadian hippies who sold hashish, but I don't remember him being that organized about it. Whatever the case, does my personal history of having once dated a loser constitute the sort of information needed by serious students, as Cliff refers to them? Will this make them secure in the knowledge that they have a basic understanding of the work? In page after chilling page, I saw that my book had been hacked apart. Autopsied. There we go. Sorry about that. Autopsied and permanently embalmed into chapter by chapter, blow by blows, plot summaries, genealogy charts, and even Chinese horoscopes. Further in, I was impressed to learn of all the clever nuances I'd apparently embedded into the phrase invisible strength, which is what a mother in the book taught her chess-playing daughter Waverly. According to Cliff, I meant for invisible strength to refer to the human will as well as to be present female power and the power of foreigners. It was amazing what I had accomplished. The truth is, I borrowed that phrase from my mother, who used to say something like it to me whenever I was whining out loud. She'd say, Fang Pai Bu Chao, Chao Pai Bun Fang, which is commonly uttered in by Chinese parents, and which translates approximately to, there's more power in silence. That's a good one. When my mother intended that, I understand, however, was precisely this. No one wants to hear you make a big stink over nothing, so shut up. The strict linguist might want to note that the literal translation of that Chinese phrase runs along these noble lines. Loud farts don't smell. The really smelly ones are deadly silent. Now, there's truth to that. Anyway, that's the sort of literary symbolism I use with phrases like invisible strength, not the sort of analysis you find in Cliff Notes, I might add. At the end of the booklet was a list of questions. I read one. Which daughter in the book is most like Amy Tann, and why? What luck? This very question was often asked of me in interviews, and I had never known what to say. Here in my quaking hands, just one page turn away, was the definitive answer. But one page later, I discovered these were just discussion questions. No answers were given, and thus I was left to ponder my existential angst in the usual fashion. In spite of my initial shock, I admit that I am perversely honored to be in Cliff Notes. Look at me. I'm sitting in the $4.95 bookstore bleachers along with Shakespeare, Conrad, and Joyce. Now, I'm not saying that I've reached their same literary status. I acknowledge there's a fundamental difference that separates us. I'm a contemporary author, and they are not. And since I'm not dead yet, I can talk back. I love how she writes. I love that she has chosen writer over author. What a difference. She caught the words and she stuck with her truth. How brilliant. Okay, so this goes on to say things about her. Okay, I'm gonna skip because I know that it's obviously interesting. I don't understand. Is this whole book on just her life? My God, I think I picked up a book on somebody's life. These are musings of my life, including the metaphors I used as an 8-year-old. There is something, this book brought me here for a reason. Sugar snaps. Oh, okay, hang on. I have a friend to bring a book. Can you bring a book? Any book. Oh, so that's disappointing. So I have like an autobiography, which I kind of had the gist of anyway, but I got it because it sounded interesting. I'm trying to decide, like, I feel like, did I grab a book that I'm not supposed to have grabbed? I don't usually grab things that I'm not supposed to grab. There's always a reason in things. She does have cliff notes at the beginning of things. That seemed a little interesting. Let's see. She had little funny, not like funny things, just important things at the beginning of some of these. Let's see. Bear with me, guys. This is not what I wanted to read. I'm so upset. Well, we're waiting for Louisa. Let us continue reading this. There's a reason we picked it up. Maybe we'll come across something. One of the problems of being a contemporary author is that you are confronted with frequent opportunities to see what people have written about you in the way of reviews, profiles, or student theses. It's all rather appalling. Good, bad, or ugly, there before your very eyes is an analysis of you, your intentions, and the deeper, more subterranean meanings of your books. Say, the dichotomy between two cultures and two generations, or the socio-political concerns of immigration and assimilation. The subject matter that makes you sound high-minded when really, your reasons are for writing were more haphazard and personal. So just so that you're aware, I am live. I'll probably go off in a minute. I'm super disappointed with this book so far. I don't want to shut it down because clearly I got it for a reason. It's more like an autobiography than it is anything else. Yeah. So it's not quite what I was looking for. Like autobiographies. Well, I don't know if it's really like, okay, so the description in the front, she just says, these are musings on my life, including the metaphors I used as an 8-year-old child. So it sounds like right about her life, right? But if you look in the back, it says, with the same spirit and humor that characterized her beloved novels, Amy Tann presents a refreshing antidote to the world weariness and uncertainties we face today, contemplating how life happens, including her life, but always returning to the question of fate and its opposites, the choices, charms, influences, attitudes, and lucky accidents that shape us all. So it kind of sounds, I don't know, like I'm not sure.